There's a point in every woman's life where she realizes she didn't lose herself overnight. She lost herself one breath at a time, one yes too many, one boundary that got pushed just a little further than she was comfortable with. One late night email that cost her another piece of peace. One moment of silence when she wanted to speak but swallowed her truth instead. That's exactly how she finds herself again. One breath at a time, because resurrection doesn't happen in some grand, cinematic flash of light. It happens quietly. It happens when you finally stop holding your breath and whisper, "Enough is enough." Welcome to Rising with the Woman After, the podcast for self-led women and feminine leaders who are ready to become the CEO of their afterlife. The one that's been waiting for you to stop chasing the past, stop performing for the future, and finally rise into the woman you were always meant to be. Here we breathe, we rebuild, and we rise into the frequency of becoming the remembered self. Not who the world expects, but who your soul has been screaming for you to finally embody. Because your breath is your business plan. Your body is your blueprint, and your leadership begins within. I'm your host, Elise Small, author of The Woman After, somatic breath-led energetics coach and guide for women who've journeyed through the fire, gathered their lessons, and are now ready to rise beyond healing into quantum creation, embodiment, and remembrance of their highest timeline. Let's dive in. Before we dive into anything in this episode, I wanted to invite you to land here with me. Maybe you're listening in the car, maybe you're walking, maybe you're lying in bed between the end of one day and beginning of another. Wherever you are, this moment is yours. So come with me now and take a slow, steady inhale through your nose. Let your ribs widen, your shoulders soften, your chest expand. Hold that breath for 3, 2, 1. Then exhale slowly like you're fogging up a mirror. Feel everything that's been sitting heavy in your body release with that very breath. Repeating this again, inhaling through your nose. This time feel the back of your body. Let your breath find the spaces that have been holding tension all day long. Hold for 3, 2, 1. Exhale through your mouth, unclench your jaw, release your tongue, soften the space behind your eyes. Let this breath mark the line between the woman you've been and the one who's about to rise. You're here now. You've made it. There is nothing you need to fix, nothing you need to prove, nowhere else you need to be. Just an invitation to be here, to breathe, to be, and to begin again. In this very first episode together, I'm taking you back to the moment everything in my life blew up. The moment when the woman I thought I was, the high-performing manager, the mother trying to do it all, the one who held everything together for everyone else, finally collapsed. I want to show you how that collapse became the greatest catalyst of my life, because that's where the woman after was born. Not from perfection, not from achievement, but from pressure. From the kind of pressure that either breaks you or shapes you, depending on whether you can remember to breathe through it. Because pressure is where truth is forged. Diamonds don't grow in safety, they grow in surrender. In that pressure, I found my lifeline. The thing that rebuilt me wasn't logic or a checklist or a timeline. It was breath. Breath became the bridge between who I was and who I was becoming. It became the most powerful tool for regulation, for rebirth, for leadership, for life itself. By the end of this conversation, you're going to discover why and maybe just maybe, you'll start to breathe differently too. Let's go back. It was the end of March 2020, 4 days into our very first global lockdown, and I was giving birth to my son. The world outside had gone eerily still, but inside me, everything was chaos. There was sirens, silence, fear ringing through me. It felt like time had stopped and sped up all at once, like the whole planet was holding its breath. And then came the birth of my son. When they placed him on my chest, as they do, this tiny, perfect, brand new life, I didn't feel the rush of love people write about. In fact, I felt nothing. My body was shaking, my mind racing, my heart completely numb. It was as though my soul had been unplugged, like I was watching my own life happen from the other side of the glass, hearing everyone tell me how beautiful it all was, while inside I was screaming, why can't I feel this? Birth and death arrived in the same breath that day. The death of who I'd been and the birth of who I was meant to become. That was the moment I realized something in me had gone dark. The lights were on, but I wasn't home. And that truth hit harder than labor itself. For 14 years, I climbed the ladder in early childhood education. I ran services, led teams, wrote policies, built programs, mentored others, and kept hundreds of families running smoothly. On paper, I was accomplished. In reality, I was running on fumes. I was that woman who looked composed in every meeting, whose inbox was always under control, whose hair was brushed and whose smile stayed fixed, but whose nervous system was screaming. You know that feeling when you wake before dawn already exhausted? Another night of waking at 2 a.m. or looking insomnia dead in the eye, already behind, already bracing for another day you don't have the capacity to face. That was my life. I lived in a constant state of fight or flight, held together by a beautiful concoction of caffeine, adrenaline, and sheer willpower. And then maternity leave arrived. And for the first time in years, there was silence. And in that silence, I heard the truth I'd been drowning out. I had built a life that looked successful, but did not feel like living. Not to mention the ruptures in the relationship I was in, wondering how on earth was I meant to bring a child into this mess. Motherhood didn't just stretch me, it tore me apart from the inside out. Yes, undoubtedly, I was so in love with my bub in those early hazy days, but I was so disconnected. It was not the way people romanticized about it. No, I was actually forced to meet myself in the dark. And I remember one night standing in the shower, my bubba finally asleep for all of 30 minutes, if I was lucky. The water was beating down against my back like needles, whispering through tears and all the hormones that were raging. I couldn't help but say to myself, is this it? Is this my life? Am I going to feel like this forever? I was truly at rock bottom. And it wasn't a dramatic breakdown. It was quiet. A lot of it was internalized. Desperate moments where I couldn't keep holding my breath anymore. And that's when something shifted. Because when you've got nothing left to prove, you finally start telling yourself the truth. For me, the truth was I didn't want my old life back. I didn't want to bounce back to normal. Normal had nearly broken me. I didn't want to keep performing resilience. I wanted to feel it. I wanted peace more than anything. I wanted presence. And I wanted this deep sense of purpose, and I honestly had no idea how to find it. So I began small. I began with breath. At first, it was just survival, the most basic thing our bodies know how to do. A simple inhale, an exhale, except I've forgotten how to do even that properly. My breath was shallow and always felt like it was stuck, rushed, or anxious. My whole body was living like there was a fire to put out. But as I started slowing my breath down, not because I understood the science, not because I was chasing enlightenment, but because it was the only thing I could control. And that's when something began to change. Breath became my anchor when everything felt too big. It became my voice when I couldn't find words. It became my mother when I didn't have one near me. My therapist when I couldn't afford one. My prayer when I didn't know what to pray for. It became the bridge between the version of me that was crumbling and the version of me that was calling me home. One morning, going back, after a night of no sleep, I took my son to the beach just to breathe. And I lay there listening to the waves move in rhythm with our breath. And I can remember this so distinctly because for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt a flicker of peace from within me. Not happiness, not excitement, just a steady hum of I'm still here. And for me, in that moment, it was more than enough. I knew then if I could find peace through breath, I could rebuild everything from it, including the starting of life all over again after separating and navigating motherhood on a solo journey. Just 4 months in, back at my parents' house in Sydney with nothing but a suitcase and a whole lot of what the fuck am I doing with my life, pulsing through every cell in my entire being. And that was the moment the woman after was conceived. Not in triumph, but in reigniting a tiny spark within me. Not by becoming more, but by unbecoming everything that wasn't me. I quit the jobs that no longer aligned with my soul. I left behind relationships that couldn't meet the version of me I was becoming. I moved states. I started writing. I started remembering. And somewhere along that road, as I filled journal after journal, a word began appearing again and again, spelling itself through me like a message. B-R-E-A-T-H. Breath. At first, it was just a word that felt like home. But as I started writing it, it started revealing something deeper, a framework, a method, a map back home. And it wove together the years of my own deep work. I saw it all coming together for the world to receive. And if you're listening and something inside you is stirring, that quiet knowing that you're ready to breathe again, ready to rebuild, ready to rise, I want you to know you don't have to do it alone. Before we go any further, I want to take a quick breath break with you, because what I'm about to say might just be the reminder you didn't know you needed. You don't have to rise alone. That's why I created the After Circle, a community built for women just like you, walking this same path of remembrance and reclamation. It's not a Facebook group lost in the scroll or a chat thread full of noise. It's a community app, a living, breathing sanctuary where we come home to ourselves again through breathwork, reflection, and real conversation. Inside, we gather for rituals, life circles, and integration practices that meet you wherever you are on your journey. There's no performance here, no pretending you've got it all together, just women showing up raw and real and being witnessed as they rise. So if your heart's been whispering, I need that, this is your invitation. Take a deep breath and walk through the door. The link's waiting for you in the show notes below. Back to it. When I look back and reflect, which is daily, I understand so much of my why now. So here's the science, the magic that's written into our biology. When we breathe deeply and intentionally, we're not just filling our lungs, we're sending a message through time and space. Think of your vagus nerve like an ancient river that has carved its way through your body for thousands of generations. winding from the base of your brain down through your heart and gut. It's the oldest conversation your body still remembers how to have. Every slow, steady exhale is a message drifting downstream whispering, "You're safe now." That's the essence of the polyvagal theory, the bridge between science and soul. It's why your shoulders drop when you sigh, why your thoughts soften when you pause. Or for the most part anyway, when we can connect to the breath. The breath literally turns the light back on in your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that helps you see clearly, decide calmly, and lead wisely. When we breathe with awareness, it's like flicking the breaker switch in a house after a storm. Suddenly, power flows again, the chaos quiets, and the system starts to reset. That's the miracle of breath. It's not a metaphor for life, it is life. When you're anxious, overwhelmed, or frozen in place, you're not broken. Your body's just trying to protect you. It's doing its job. The breath becomes the bridge between that protective state and your power state. It's the doorway home, and over time, those breaths start to rewire you. We call this neuroplasticity, which is your brain's ability to reshape itself through repetition and emotion. And every time you choose to breathe instead of panic, you're carving a new path inside your nervous system. You're teaching your body that safety isn't something you have to earn, it's something that you can create. For years, I have been obsessed, completely fascinated with the inner workings of the human mind. I devoured everything I could on the brain, the subconscious mind, patterns, programs, quantum physics, holographics, energy systems, the invisible software running the show behind my every decision. The oh fuck moment was sitting with the truth of how outdated my own programming really was. Like, truly, I was running my life on the emotional equivalent of my mum's very first mobile phone. You know, those big Nokia bricks. Mum had a red one. The one whose only purpose for us was playing Snake 2 and sending the occasional 3-word text message that took about 20 minutes to type. I think you can all kind of relate to where I'm at with that one. There's a big truth bomb here though, and that is that the version of that software, the equivalent within us that's still plugged in, is running for most people. Meanwhile, we're out there chasing the newest technology of the highest quality 4K scroll, but never update the internal hardware that's running our entire lives, telling ourselves, I have no money, no time, I can't slow down, staying stuck in a shit soup that is rippling out into the entire collective consciousness. I refuse to be a part of this and love empowering others to know that they can unsubscribe from this program as well, because it's not just about me at the end of the day. It's about all of us rising together. So I started upgrading my system. I started mastering self-concept, studying not just who I was, but who I was becoming. And that was confronting as fuck. Because even though I was learning, practicing, embodying, there was still this mirror image of me that didn't match the woman I knew I was meant to be. I don't believe in piecing together the perfect affirmation playlist or trying to meditate my way into success. Because if you can't actually see yourself, if the image of you that you hold in your mind is out of sync with your frequency, then no matter how hard you try, you'll just keep returning to the old code. And for most of us, that code sounds something like this. I'm not enough. I'm too much. I'm ugly. Who would ever want to work with me? I'm not worthy of this stage. Or the one that used to echo through me. Every time I speak, the room goes quiet. It was something that was learnt as a child, one of 4, and it ran so deep within me that I had to, moment of vulnerability here, I really had to sit with it and go deep and look at how much I had dimmed my light and how much I had stopped talking and trying to move through things so internally to the point where I honestly didn't believe that I was worthy of getting the support and having the love surrounding me that I actually craved, especially in those first years of being a mama. It's no different the way that we have our thoughts running to the way that we teach children the alphabet. And I like to come back to this because for those of you that don't know me, my career prior to stepping into the self-development space was as an early childhood teacher. So when I was in the classroom teaching, I used to cringe at the ABC song. I still do, especially when my son sings and it's just like trigger alert. It was a default song that educators would throw on of an afternoon just before the dreaded baby shark. But I'm not opening that door in this episode. Everyone loved a good, catchy, predictable, easy to measure song. The children would sing it and boom, box ticked. All of a sudden it was classed as they can identify letters and then they can read. But they weren't learning. They were repeating, mimicking, remembering something drilled into them until it became truth. And that's exactly what we do with our own programming. We internalize the jingles of our conditioning, those stories about worth, love, and belonging, and we sing them on loop without even questioning the lyrics. But the psychology of self-concept tells us something radical. Identity isn't fixed. With that glamorous detox program that you've just signed up for the 4th time this year to reverse the overindulgence to feel happy. Allow that one to land. Self-concept tells us something different. Identity isn't fixed. It's a story we keep telling ourselves, and it is one that can be rewritten. And that's what breath taught me. Breath is the moment you stop reciting the alphabet of your pain and start writing poetry with your truth. Because you can't think your way into safety. You have to feel your way there, and breath gives you the language to do that, one exhale at a time. It took me years to realize that what I was creating wasn't survival, it was sovereignty. It was self-leadership, and that's when breath revealed itself to me as more than a word. It became this living framework, a way of being. So today I wanted to share with you what those letters came to mean. Not as a formula, but as an embodied language, one that your body already knows how to speak. And if you want to go further into this framework, it is woven in between the pages of my debut book, The Woman After. I will pop a link to purchase your copy in the show notes. But for now, here is the breath framework. The very one that rebuilt me, rewired me, and reminded me that life is never asking you to perform. It's asking you to participate. So we begin with B. And B literally is for begin. The morning you decide to start again, not because you're ready, not because you're healed, not because you're done waiting for permission. It's that morning where I personally looked in the mirror, eyes swollen from crying, and said, if not now, then when? Then we moved into for me, that was release, the exhale that let go of the woman I had built for everyone else. The one who needed to be liked, who needed to be chosen, who needed to be needed time and time again for validation. I realized that version of me had done her job. She got me here, but she couldn't take me further. Then there's excavate. The nights that I dug through my old beliefs like buried bones. The stories that said I had to be small to be safe, quiet to be loved, busy to be enough. excavation isn't comfortable. It's dusty, messy, shitty real work. But the treasures you find underneath, that's where your freedom lives. A then came to me as a line, rebuilding from integrity instead of image. Every decision filtered through the question, does this support the woman I'm becoming? Not the woman I was, not the one they expect me to be. Her. The future self was calling me forward. But I had to learn to trust. T is trust. Learning to rest in the uncertainty, to stop micromanaging divine timing, to sit in the void and whisper, I can trust this pause. And in that moment, that's where I knew expansion was brewing, in the not knowing. And then we land with honor, honoring the body that carried me through collapse, honoring the boundaries that protect my peace, honoring the sacred rhythm of being both soft and strong, of knowing when to exhale and when to rise. That's breath and how it came to me. And that's how I rebuilt, not in one grand transformation, but one moment of presence at a time. So wherever you are right now, I invite you to try something with me. We're going to take a breath together, not just as an exercise, but this time as a reclamation. If you're not behind the steering wheel listening to this, and if you're in a space where you can close your eyes or soften your gaze, whatever feels comfortable for you, I invite you to inhale slowly through your nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. Let your belly rise, let your ribs expand, and hold it for 2, 1. Now exhale through your mouth for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The next time we go through this round, I want you to focus on the breath, the exhale being long, steady, releasing everything that's been sitting in your chest. Breathing in again, inhaling for 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding for 2, 1. Exhale for 6, 5, 4. Keep going. Let it go. Release everything. 1. Now here in this moment, think of the woman you're becoming. Not the one you're leaving behind, but the one who's calling you forward. And ask her quietly, what does she need from me today? Give yourself permission to not overthink it. Just let the answer land. Maybe it's stillness. Maybe it's action. Maybe it's a boundary. Maybe it's just one deep breath. That is the breath that builds the woman after. When we lead from that place, that deep coherence between our breath, our body, and our truth, everything changes. That's what feminine leadership really is. It's not about how much you can hold, it's about how aligned you can hold yourself while you hold it. The best CEOs in the world audit their energy the same way they audit their finances. They look at what's giving returns and what's draining resources. We get to do the same in motherhood, in business, in love, in life. And that's how we lead from coherence instead of chaos. Resilience isn't bouncing back to who you were before the rupture. It's rising forward into who you were meant to become because of it. When you breathe through the storm instead of bracing against it, you model stability, and that stability gives everyone around you permission to exhale too. Your team, your children, your clients, your partners, that's leadership. That's power. That's the woman after. So as we come to a close, for this first episode, I want you to take a moment to reflect. Which part of your story is ready to exhale? Which chapter has already taught you what it came to teach? And what new story are you ready to begin writing? You don't heal by becoming someone new. You heal by remembering who you've always been, underneath the noise, the programming, the proving. If something in you awakened during this episode, if you found yourself nodding, crying, exhaling, remembering, don't let it stay just as a feeling. Let it ripple. Take a screenshot of this episode, share your biggest breakthrough moment on your socials and tag me, because your story might just be the mirror another woman needs to find herself again. And if you're ready to walk into this journey deeper, to breathe, to rebuild and rise with women who get it, you're invited to join us in the After Circle. It's not just a community, it's a homecoming, and you'll find all the links in the show notes below to the circles, the mentorship, the book, and the breathwork journeys that will walk beside you every step of the way. You are not returning, you are rewriting, you are the woman after.